The Christmas season is upon us. That means Christmas shows are starting, and Netflix has one for us called Dash and Lily that we're going to review this week alongside 5 other shows, and we've got some interesting news for you as well. Let's get it started. Hey guys, Dan here with this week's TV news and reviews. We've got 6 shows for you this week, and we'll get to those shortly for the review portion. But first, a bunch of news. We're going to kind of try and speed through this, but a lot of interesting things going on in the world of television this week. The renewals and cancellations, fairly easy because I don't watch 2 of these 3 shows, don't know much about them really, but the one renewal that I did watch is Woke on Hulu. I thought it was a pretty decent start. I saw the first couple episodes of this. This is Lamorne Morris from The New Girl and his new show on Hulu. That will be getting a season 2, so I look forward to that. I like him, and I liked those first 2 episodes enough. And then I don't know this show at all, Siesta Key. It's a reality show on MTV. It's one of the Jersey Shore type of shows. It doesn't feature those people, but it's about the Florida people at the Keys in Florida. So Siesta Key, some reality show. If you dig it, well, hey, you can look forward to season 4 on MTV. And then canceled. Now, this one is interesting. Black Lightning after the upcoming 4th season over on the CW. So this is, it's a DC show, I think. So it's sort of part of that whole thing, but I don't think it's directly related to the actual Arrowverse, from my understanding. But again, I don't watch it. But if you are into Black Lightning, there's going to be a potential spin-off to the show about the character Painkiller, and that will be there's going to be a backdoor pilot for one of the episodes in the first half of the final season. It's either episode 7 or 9, I can't remember, but one of them will feature Painkiller in what they hope will be some sort of spin-off mode. So if you like Black Lightning, all hope is not lost. Maybe you'll get that Painkiller spin-off next year. Other than that, a couple other things of note. This was a pretty big deal around Halloween. So Charlie Brown and all the Peanuts specials that we know and love every single year, usually they air on ABC, but they've sort of been rotating really ever since I was a child. Sometimes it's CBS, sometimes ABC. But Apple TV Plus has the exclusive rights now to the Peanuts specials. So the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, did not air on television this year for the first time in decades. Now, Apple TV Plus did put it up for free for anybody that's not a subscriber, that if they want to watch it, they can. But, it's hard to get that kind of word out when most of the stories are really, you can't watch Great Pumpkin this year, like it's not going to be on TV, oh my god, Apple's ruining everything. So what they did for the Thanksgiving special and Christmas special is partnered with PBS, and PBS will be airing each one individually. The Thanksgiving special will air tonight, the 22nd, and then the Christmas special will air in like 2 or 3 weeks. But you can also stream both of them for free on Apple TV Plus for like 4 or 5 day windows if you are a non-subscriber. So the Thanksgiving one you can see now through Friday, which is the day after Thanksgiving, and then the Christmas one you can see, I don't know, sometime in December, but again, there'll be some sort of specific window. So even if you're not an Apple TV subscriber, you can enjoy the classic Peanut special. Many of us, look, I haven't really watched them since I was a kid, or maybe in college I watched them too, but for a lot of families, for a lot of adults too, this is annual viewing. This is, Great Pumpkin specifically, I think is a big one for people. So that and the Christmas ones, I think, are the most popular. So when that did not air, that was definitely a big deal. All right, so let's talk about some ratings stuff. I don't really delve in a whole lot to ratings because we could be here all day talking about that. But a couple of interesting programming notes for the last week or two. So you have the same day ratings now, and then you have the 3-day the 7-day, and the 28-day, which goes, basically a whole month after something airs. And the 3-day is really the most important because it's the live plus 3, which means, that they have a pretty good idea of who really wanted to watch this with some sort of immediacy. And The Good Doctor, after its season premiere last week, goes up almost 3.5 million viewers over 3 days. The largest jump of any show at all on television since The Good Doctor season finale last year. It's very interesting that this is a show that really has captured people on the DVRs and the on-demands for 3 days following its run. Not many shows go more than 3 million viewers in the 3-day. Right now, just in the last week, since premiere week, Chicago PD did it, and This Is Us did it. But that's about it. Those are the only 3 that have done it. Good Doctor really is, leading the charge there, and I'm not exactly sure why, but doctor shows obviously are hot right now because NBC has Transplant, which is one of the top shows from all of the acquired shows for the fall season from other platforms. That comes from Canada, so much so that NBC ordered another show called Nurses from Canada, and we talked about that last week, so that will be coming up on their 2021 schedule. But the doctor thing is also hot with Grey's Anatomy. So Grey's Anatomy, 17th season now, okay? Once you factor in the 3 days delayed viewing, which is, it doesn't get quite as much of a boost as The Good Doctor. It gets about 2.5 million extra viewers, but it starts out so high that with the 3-day plus, Grey's Anatomy becomes the #1 entertainment show on television. And what that means is basically, not counting football, it's #1. And I mean, it's just wild. 17 years now. And I guess I'm going to give mild spoilers. If you still watch Grey's Anatomy and you haven't seen the season premiere, then tune out for a moment. Because I don't watch Grey's Anatomy. I haven't for, I've watched a few episodes here or there from, random seasons. But I stopped following it in like season 3. But they gave Meredith COVID. And because of that, she's, struggling with some things and obviously, can't really work right now, but she is getting some help in a, dream-like fantasy-type sequence from her old pal, Dr. Derek Shepherd, played by Patrick Dempsey. He made a guest appearance in the premiere episode, and he's going to be recurring this season in these fantasy sequences. They killed his character off, so obviously, I don't think fans were expecting to see him. So if I was still a watcher of Grey's Anatomy, I would be like jaw to the floor, like, oh my god, it's Patrick Dempsey, back from the dead, like what's going on? So maybe the word of mouth got out for Grey's, and so people were like, okay, I gotta see this. Even people that probably haven't watched Grey's in years, I think might be interested in that. So that could explain some of it. But yeah, Grey's Anatomy in season 17 is TV's #1 non-sports program. It's pretty wild. But speaking of long-running shows, I want to talk a little bit about Supernatural. So I watched Supernatural for the first 2 seasons and then never saw another episode again. But look, this is a stalwart program. This is a flagship show for the CW. And I mean, first of all, it's been around so long. It started on the WB. Remember the WB? Well, WB left us 14 years ago and became the CW. They merged with UPN, and they became the CW. Supernatural predates the CW, for God's sake. But this thing ends its 327 episode run on a year and a half ratings high. It has not had this high ratings for the same day viewing since 19 months ago. So people are still, really into this show. And so 327 episodes, by the way, is 84 more episodes than the #2 longest running show on the CW/WB, which is Seventh Heaven. That had several seasons on the WB and then a few on the CW. But Supernatural has almost 100 more episodes than Seventh Heaven. It had 6 different time slots over the course, mostly Thursday at 9 p.m., but that was only for about 100 episodes. It had 5 other time slots, and it was a great show to pair with a new upcoming show that the WB or the CW really wanted to attract eyes to. So it basically launched 12 different shows, including many in the Arrowverse, on the CW. Just for comparison's sake, so the viewer average in the first season was 4.5 million viewers, which, first of all, for the WB is pretty incredible. However, it was still down at 165th place because, back then shows were getting 25 million viewers a week if they were on top. Shows like Desperate Housewives, American Idol, were getting that mid-20s mark. Right now, if you got 4.5 million viewers, you would be in like 50th or 60th place, somewhere in there. But anyway, the show has certainly, proven the power of a show and the viewers following it to different time slots. They put it on Fridays, which is usually a death zone, and it performed. They put it on Mondays, it performed. Anywhere Supernatural was, the viewers that loved it tuned in. So, we don't see a lot of shows anymore. I mean, Grey's Anatomy is one example. Like I said, it's in its 17th season. But we really don't see a lot of shows, specifically shows geared towards the younger set. I mean, not too many oldsters watched Supernatural. So it really is a testament to this show. And it's really cool, by the way, that because the final season got cut short from COVID, that they came back and did the last, whatever it was, 4 episodes or something, to really put a finite point on the show. I just think that's very cool. All right, so moving on, NBC has released its premiere dates for some of their new shows in 2021. They've already had some of them premiere in the fall, the Chicago trio, This Is Us, but they're getting some of their comedies up and running for 2021. So Mr. Mayor, the Tina Fey produced show starring Ted Danson, and Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist are going to premiere their seasons in January, and they're going to be a little more game show heavy on NBC. First of all, I love that COVID has really brought out the year-round game shows. Usually we see game shows on broadcast networks in the summer, and we'll see them like around Christmas time maybe for 5-6 weeks to fill time. But now we've got The Weakest Link back with Jane Lynch, which I love. I watch it every week. You've got The Wall returning with Chris Hardwick, Ellen's Game of Games. So NBC has all 3 of those in the pipeline with new episodes for 2021, which, the only one of those 3 I really watch is Weakest Link. But I did watch The Wall when it first came on. But I'm very, very excited about that. And speaking of game shows, there is an Uno game show in development from Mattel. There's no network attached to it yet, but Mattel is prepping some sort of Uno game show that will combine the best parts of playing Uno along with trivia challenges and physical challenges. I don't know much more about it than that, but the people involved are pretty high profile. One of the producers has worked on Let's Make a Deal and The Price is Right in recent years with Drew Carey. So, there you could see a nice pedigree. I'm always up for a new game show. Sometimes the ones based on board games or card games are not that good. I remember they tried Monopoly in 1990. That was a summer replacement show on ABC. I kind of liked it, but it tanked. They did not bring it back. I remember Scrabble ran a couple of years with Chuck Woolery in the 80s. I thought that was actually pretty fun as well. At some point they did not categories. What's the game? Taboo. They did a Taboo on what was at the time, I think, Spike TV, or maybe whatever it was before it was Spike. Maybe it was on that, but I never watched it. But I liked the show. I liked the game Taboo. I don't know how you make it into a game show, but they have some interesting innovations while porting over card games and board games. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be good. So other than that, let's see. We have a new sitcom in the works. I don't usually talk about things that are like, upcoming, or they're going to make a pilot for this, unless it's something that really I think is intriguing. And this one I think is. So there is a multi-camera comedy in the works on ABC. Multi-camera basically means like a studio audience or a laugh track sitcom. All the stuff on CBS is multi-camera. The Neighborhood, Mom, Bob Hart's Abbott Show, that's all multi-cam. So ABC, though, is getting a multi-cam comedy in the works starring Alec Baldwin and Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer, of course, has done that stuff before with Frasier and Cheers. Alec Baldwin, a little bit, with SNL, but TV show-wise, no. 30 Rock was obviously a single-camera comedy. And then before that, he's mostly known for his movies. I mean, he is in front of an audience, I guess, for the Match Game when he hosts that. But for a sitcom, he's never done anything like that. And Chris Lloyd, not Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd, but Chris Lloyd, the producer, who worked with Kelsey Grammer on Frasier, and he's done Modern Family, and he did Just Shoot Me. He will be spearheading this for ABC, and they already have a pilot commitment. So we'll see where that lands. Probably aiming for the 2021-22 season. But I just said last week when I was reviewing Be Positive that there aren't too many laugh track sitcoms, live action studio audience sitcoms that really interest me anymore. But if you present me with a good one, I am all in. Chuck Lorre, I just don't think is the beacon for that. So hopefully with some of these outside people, I really liked a lot of Chris Lloyd's other shows. I loved Frasier, obviously. So we'll see where that takes that. One of my favorites, Conan O'Brien. He is leaving his TBS show in June after 10 years on TBS. I can't believe it's been that long, but yeah, he left his late night show back in 2005, and then he did 6 months on the Tonight Show, and then I guess it was not 2005, 2009 or something like that, and then he's been on TBS since 2010. Hard to believe. I guess 2011, because he'll be leaving in June, and that will be sort of the 10 season mark. So I guess it was 2011, but I forgot he took like that whole year plus off on television because of his NBC contract after he left the Tonight Show. So yeah, it did take about a year and a half to get onto TBS after that whole thing. But he will not be gone forever. He will first of all continue the Conan Without Borders specials for TBS, where he goes to the different countries and does funny things and meets the people of those countries. That's always really great. So they will continue on TBS. But he will segue into a variety series on HBO Max. HBO Max and TBS are both under the Warner umbrella, so that's why he's able to do both, and I'm sure why he was able to sort of finagle, like, okay, maybe I don't really want to do this show anymore, but what if I do, this thing on HBO Max? So, should be interesting. Look, I've followed Conan since quite literally 93 on his first talk show, and even before that, before I knew who he was, I was watching stuff that he wrote on The Simpsons and Saturday Night Live, and so I've been really following Conan's career since the late 80s, I guess, even though I didn't know it at the time. But since his show started in 93, he is by far the longest running, or longest tenured, I should say, current late night host. Bill Maher, I would say, is the only one that even comes close. He's been on HBO for a long time, and before that, he did Politically Incorrect for ABC. That was on probably not long after Conan, probably in the mid-90s, I would say, like 95, 96 maybe. That was on ABC. I think before that it was on Comedy Central, but that was like more of a daytime show or something. But it wasn't like a late-night talk show the way it was on ABC. So Bill Maher is definitely up there, but yeah, nobody is longer standing than Conan, which I love. I have loved Conan for a long time. His humor definitely is my sensibilities. All right, so before we get to the reviews, I have just one more thing to talk about, and that is This Week in Reboots. I'll do them quick. Waiting to Exhale, the movie, is being made into a TV show for ABC Studios. Now, it is not definitely going to be on ABC, the network. They may shop it around. They may put it on ABC. They may put it somewhere else. They might put it on Hulu or Freeform, one of the other ABC properties. But they're prepping a Waiting to Exhale TV show based on the film. And then in more game show news, this one is right up my alley. Name That Tune is coming back to television. This has not been on since the mid-'80s. They tried one in the early 2000s, and I was trying to think of the host the other day because I saw the commercial for this on The Masked Singer, and I was talking about it on my Masked Singer video, but I can't remember who the host was supposed to be in the early 2000s. It was either like Joey Fatone or Nicholas Shea or something like that, but it never made it to air. I was so excited when it was announced. I wanted to audition for it, and I want to audition for the new one, but I assume since it's premiering in January, they've probably shot all the episodes. But what I didn't know a few days ago when they did the ad was who will be part of the show, who will be hosting it. And so first of all, the band leader, you need somebody to lead the band because they play the songs live, which is always fun. The band leader is going to be Mr. Randy Jackson from American Idol, so that's cool. And then the host, one of my favorite funny gals since the late 90s on Ally McBeal, it's Jane Krakowski. She, of course, has gone on to do 30 Rock and The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. So she's going to be hosting Name That Tune. I think this is a winner. I'm very excited about it, and that will premiere in January alongside Season 5 of The Masked Singer, which I think is going to be the second week of January. So basically, we're gonna wrap up The Masked Singer for Season 4 around Christmas, and then boom, like 2 weeks later, new season of The Masked Singer. So very, very good. All right, so let's get into the reviews. I try to keep these under 45 minutes. I don't know if that's going to happen. We have 6 shows to review. So let's get into a little bit of everything tonight. So first up, we're going to talk about Dash and Lily. This is over on Netflix, and with the Christmas season coming, this is a holiday-based, Christmas-based show. It could have been a movie, really, I think. I mean, they're 8 episodes, and each one is about 23 to 25 minutes, which means the whole thing is about 3 hours and 15 minutes, which obviously that's long for a movie, but they could have cut stuff out and made it a nice holiday movie, but instead they decided to make it into a series. It is based on a book called Dash and Lily's Book of Dares, and I had a little extra time this week, so instead of just watching the first 1 or 2 episodes like I usually do, I actually watched all 8. I binged this Dash and Lily show so I could really give it the full-fledged review and grade. And I am not sorry I did. I thought this was just a charming, charming little show. So the basic premise is you've got this kid, Dash, played by Austin Abrams, I guess it's Abrams, who, you might recognize from some movies that he did. He was in The Kings of Summer. He was in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. He was in Paper Towns. But he was also in seasons 5 and 6 of The Walking Dead, which I don't watch, but you may recognize him from that from about 5 years ago. But he plays Dash, who is a well-read teenager, but he really does not like Christmas. He's having some family issues. And we also have Lily, played by Midori Francis, who I also don't really know her. Let's see if she's done anything I know. Okay, she had some small roles in Good Boys. Oh, I did see Good Boys. That was cute. I guess she plays the older sister's friend, maybe? And then she was in Ocean's 8 as well, which I don't really remember her in that. But yeah, she's fairly new to the scene other than that. But she just wants to find love, and she loves Christmas. She loves the holidays, but she has some trouble fitting in with people her own age. She's in a choir, like Christmas carol group that is mostly older people. She's got a slightly older brother who is discovering his sexuality, and I mean, that's not a plot point, but just it's something that's happening, and he's discovered in bed with his male companion, his boyfriend, I guess. And Lily's got a lot of family issues of her own. We learn a lot more about her family issues than we find out about Dash's, because we actually meet a lot of Lily's family here. And one of them is her grandfather, played by James Sato, who has been in a lot of things, as far back as the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie where he voiced Shredder, but he's been in a bunch of different things. Big Eyes and Always Be My Maybe on Netflix, which was very popular, and Life of Pi he was in. So, he's been around for a while, and always good to see him. But basically, the essential premise is Dash is, or Lily rather, is looking for love, and she plants a book in this, sort of out-of-the-way bookstore that she frequents and Dash also frequents, and he discovers this book, and it's basically like a bunch of clues to find, where he could leave the book and write a little note for her, and so it goes back and forth like that for like 5 or 6 of the 8 episodes before they actually meet. That's the only spoiler I'll really give, but, also involved is one of Dash's buddies who owns, or I guess his family owns a pizza shop, and he ends up sort of playing, wingman unbeknownst to Dash. But, look, I don't want to go into too much detail, but this is a very, very cute show. What's great about it is, number one, we get a lot of Christmas movies that are very, I just reviewed one last week, Holiday, where it's very like by the numbers, X, Y, and Z always have to happen. And here there's maybe a little of that, but really, the whole dare thing and the whole secretive thing, yeah, we've seen the whole sort of Secret Santa type thing before, but this is on a very different scale, and we also get peeks into each of their private lives and some of their past stuff that sort of brings them to where they are today. Like, why does Dash hate Christmas? Why does Lily not have any friends her own age? We learn about that as we go along, and I really liked that aspect of it as well. It's also very it's not completely clean, but it's not Netflix dirty. And, sometimes I don't mind that, but I get on Netflix a lot actually for having shows that are way too vulgar unnecessarily. We get it. You're Netflix. You can do whatever you want. You can get away with it. But it would be great to have some family viewing, on Netflix that's not just for like little kids, And I thought the Lemony Snicket Show was a great example of that with Neil Patrick Harris. But this is another one. I mean, I don't even think there's an F-bomb in this show. I mean, this could have been a mini-series on Freeform or something. It is perfect for a television viewing audience. It's clean enough. Yes, they talk about sex. Yes, they do some drugs in it. But, no more than your Dawson's Creek or something. And the acting is really good for this kind of show. You don't expect Emmy caliber, Oscar caliber acting in a Christmas romance such as this. But usually we get, like pretty awful acting, or overacting from like a lot of the Lifetime movies and stuff like that. But here, these guys really know how to sell their character. They know how to really present the history of these characters, and they kind of embody them. I thought the performances were great here. My only real negative to this is that, because it's a Christmas movie, it does hit certain beats that you expect, but the whole dare aspect takes enough twists and turns, and there's enough twists and turns, certainly with Lily's family members. There's sort of like a great aunt that she confides in and is fighting with the grandfather, and that's sort of an interesting side plot. There's just a lot of interesting things here. This could have been a movie. It could have been pared down by about an hour and been a little over a 2-hour holiday movie, and it certainly would have been better than most of the holiday rom-coms we see on television, or really even at the movies. But I don't mind that they did 8 episodes as a TV show. It seems like it's a one and done. It's not necessarily listed as a mini-series, but I think it's based on just one book. Whether that book even took place around the holidays, I'm not sure. It was just called Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. So I don't know. But, actually, you know what? It's a young adult series. So there's, I guess, several books. So maybe they could turn these characters into something else. I kind of would like for it to stay where it is, though. I'd like for it to remain a miniseries. I think Look, I don't want to give spoilers, but I think if you've ever seen any Christmas movie ever, you can imagine what happens towards the end of this. So I think it ends in a perfect way. I don't think we need more seasons of Dash and Lily. I like these actors, but they can do other things. But I really enjoy this. I leave Dash and Lily on Netflix with an A-. All right, so up next we've got Moonbase 8. This is over on Showtime, and really one of 3 recent space comedies that have been, kind of high profile lately. We had Avenue 5 over on HBO, which I did not think was that good. I think I might have even given it a negative grade, like a C- or something. And then you have Space Force, of course, which is the most high profile with Steve Carell over on Netflix. Even that I gave sort of a moderately passing grade to, nothing that great. So how does Moonbase 8 stack up? Well, first of all, the premise is this. Basically, there's 3 astronauts, but they're really more wannabe astronauts, I would say. But they are working with NASA at one of several NASA Moonbase training simulators, and theirs happens to be in Arizona. And basically, the premise is NASA will pick one of these Moonbase trials, and the astronauts therein to actually go to the moon. So the 3 are played by John C. Reilly, Fred Armisen, and Tim Heidecker from Eric and Tim, or Tim and Eric, I guess it's called. So it's got that sort of sensibility to it. John C. Reilly obviously also worked in a similar way as Tim and Eric when he did the Dr. Brule show. Is that what it was called? Dr. Brule, right? On Adult Swim. So Jonathan Crystal, who sort of has worked, with these guys, both Tim and Eric and John C. Reilly, because he was part of the Dr. Brule show, as well as the FX show Baskets. He co-created this with the 3 guys, and he, is one of the producers, and I think he wrote all of the episodes, right? Or no, I'm sorry, he directed. Okay, so he directed all 6 episodes, and all 4 of them wrote all the episodes. The 3 astronauts and Jonathan Crystal. So the first 2 of these have aired on Showtime so far, so I watched the first 2. Of the 3, actually, I think it's probably the best. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it has potential. And I think Space Force had potential as well, and that just got renewed for Season 2, so, we can see more stories there next year. But I am really kind of hit or miss on the Tim and Eric brand of comedy, because a lot of times it's just kind of annoying, and I don't necessarily gravitate towards the weird for weird's sake type of jokes. Like, when Lonely Island started doing stuff on SNL, some of the songs I thought were great, but then, like, they did Laser Cats, which I was like, okay, this is just stupid. And so this has sort of that sensibility, but it's definitely more palatable. It makes, because of the sitcom nature of it, it's not sketch-based like Tim and Eric, or SNL for that matter, which of course Fred Armisen is an alum of as well. But it's definitely more in the vein of a workplace comedy that just happens to be on a NASA training program. And so, we derive some comedy from that, and then just the back and forth between the 3 guys. I mean, you can definitely tell they each have their own sort of sense of humor, and they bring that specifically to the table. Sometimes it doesn't always gel, but other times it is very funny. And there's a lot of, like, sort of office style, like, looking at the camera, looking at each other. I mean, they're not being filmed like The Office, but, they'll sort of look directly in the camera with, like, a stare of, like, oh crap, what did I just do? Not knowing that we're watching, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, I think this could certainly be better, but of the 3 space comedies that we've gotten so far in the last 12 months, this would be my favorite. I'm going to leave Moonbase 8 with a B. I think there's definitely some potential there through these other episodes. All right, up next, we're going to talk about one that I mentioned in news last week because it was already renewed for a season 2, and that is Alex Rider. This is over on IMDb TV, which I don't think I've ever watched anything on IMDb TV, but it's, as far as I know, a free service. It's owned by Amazon, and like it's under sort of the Amazon Prime umbrella. And in fact, Alex Rider airs in just about every other country on Amazon Prime, I believe. But here in the States, it's IMDb TV. So there you go. But I was sort of, after I watched this, I sort of scrolled through some of the stuff, and they really have an interesting mix of free television and shows and movies, including entire series that, I've certainly been wanting to check out some of them. So I don't know, I may have to delve into the world of IMDb TV soon. But for now, we've got Alex Rider, which is, as far as I know, I guess, their first, really big original television show. I think since I've been doing this show for the last year and 3 months, I've never reviewed a show from IMDb TV. So this might be the first. I don't know. But anyway, this is based on a book series that they made a small movie about in 2006 with Alex Pettyfer from Magic Mike and I Am Number 4. So this is, something completely different, but they did attempt to bring this character to the screen before. But this stars Otto Farrant as Alex Rider, and essentially he is a teenager who is recruited by one of the MI6 sort of subdivisions to infiltrate a corrective academy for offspring of the ultra rich. And he finds out in the first episode that his uncle, who was taking care of him, may have been a part of this service as well, this MI6 branch. And so I watched the first 2 episodes of this as well, even though they're an hour long each. I really went hard this week on really delving into these shows. So I watched the first 2 episodes, and I believe all the episodes are up. You can watch as many as you'd like now, and I think there is 8 total. So in that first episode, we're sort of more delving into his background, a little bit about the uncle, and without giving away spoilers, episode 2 focuses more on his recruitment by MI6 and some not great ways, I guess, that they are trying to recruit him and find out some truth about him and his uncle. So anyway, without spoilers, that's sort of the basic premise of the show. I have not heard of this character. I didn't see this movie in 2006 that they did, and I didn't know there was a book series about it. But it's very much in the Bourne type vein, but for a younger audience, because obviously he is a teenager himself. Now, from what I understand, they aged him up a little bit from the book. In the book, he's 14, I believe. Here, he's clearly not. He's definitely like 16 or 17, later high school for sure. And I guess that was a good idea. I don't really know. My biggest issue with this series is I'm not exactly sure who it's for, because it follows a lot of the typical spy franchise tropes. So I don't think it's going to present a whole lot that's new for adults. They may enjoy it just the same. I mean, I didn't dislike it, but certainly one of my criticisms is that it's, a little bit by the numbers in that respect, in the spy genre. So I think adults might enjoy it, but they might be a little bit bored with it. They may second guess, all the different moves that are going on. But I think by aging him up to an older teenager, I do think it also kind of alienates the young audience. So are they aiming squarely for teenagers? Well, all of these spy movies are PG-13. A teenager could go see Mission Impossible, James Bond, Jason Bourne, any of those, except for, I guess, Kingsman. That's rated R. But Other than that, teenagers could see pretty much any of those in the theater or on TV, pretty much unedited. So I don't know. Would it even be too boring for them? I'm not sure. I thought this was maybe going to be more of a starter spy series, and I don't hate that it's not. I'm just not exactly sure that aging him up was the best idea to sort of get a separate audience. I don't know, but it's very Bourne. It's like Bourne Light, basically, or Bourne the junior years, or what have you. But I do think this dude is a decent actor. He portrays the part very well. What's his name again? Otto Ferrant, or Ferrant again. I don't know, but one thing I really liked about this is that even in just the first couple episodes, they're giving the side characters some nice backstory already. We're learning about them. We're making them actual characters, actual individuals, and not just run-of-the-mill, stock characters, No, we're actually spending a little more time with them than I think we do, certainly in the Bourne series. That's a guarantee. Mission Impossible, even that, it's like, yeah, we know the Ethan Hunt character pretty well. Maybe by the fourth, fifth movie, the Simon Pegg character, and some of the other side characters. But it took us a while to get there. Here, I've only seen 2 episodes of this Alex Rider, and I'm already getting a gist of the side characters. So I definitely like that. That is interesting. And, there's definitely some intense scenes here, which brings me to another sort of, well, it's a double-edged sword. It's not necessarily an issue, but it could be. Is that this show takes itself way too seriously. I think one of the great things about the Mission Impossible series specifically is how much fun it has, especially in the last 3 movies. I think it's sort of where James Bond has kind of shifted gears into the more dramatic stuff, and the more let's take ourselves very seriously. Things like Kingsman and Mission Impossible are having a lot of fun with their characters and their scenarios. Alex Rider, it's all pretty serious, and so, I don't know, they sort of forgot to have fun a little bit, and I think that might turn off a younger audience as well. So, for adults that have been watching spy stuff for 30, 40 years, I don't think they're going to get much out of this. For teenagers that haven't yet exposed themselves to Bourne or Mission Impossible, I think this will be a good primer. But again, I think it takes itself a little too seriously to really be, a force to be reckoned with. But, look, it's already been renewed for Season 2. I certainly think there is room for improvement here. I think they need to maybe remember that doesn't have to be super serious all the time. These are teenagers after all. Let's have a little bit of fun while you're doing, your action sequences. And I think little of that goes a long way. So I will leave Alex Rider with a slightly positive grade of a C+. All right, let's try and bust through these last 3. Not a ton to say really about any of them, but the first one we're going to talk about in the last 3 is ABC's The Con. This may have already wrapped up. I'm not sure. They did 3 episodes so far, but then in the time slot is For Life now, the Season 2 of that. But this is an ABC News sort of special show, so it may be like What Would You Do? With John Quinones, where they just kind of put it on when they need to fill a time slot or whatever. So I think this is one that will kind of be on and off ABC's schedule for a while if they decided it was good enough. But for now, you can watch the episodes that did air on Hulu. And this is a news show narrated by Whoopi Goldberg, and basically each episode takes a one sort of con artist and talks about their long cons and who they hurt and how and what they did. It's sort of, a Dateline NBC type of thing. It's investigative journalism, basically. Couple things I really liked about their approach, though. First of all, Whoopi is a great narrator. I always loved Whoopi Goldberg, and she's having a little bit of fun here with the narration, talking about these dirtballs, really. But what I really liked about this that I think a lot of other news shows do not do, specifically Dateline NBC, but even a lot of the true crime shows on Netflix or whatever, they really have kept what the con was pretty close to the chest until about a half hour in, at least in the 2 episodes I saw. I watched 2 of the 3 that have aired, and the first one was a love con, and it's always for money, but well, not really always for money. The first one really didn't have much about money at all, I suppose. The second one was very much about money. I mean, this woman bankrupted her victims, but we don't quite see what the con is. They sort of take us through the journey of like, okay, this person did this person did this person did this, but for a while, we as the audience don't necessarily know like when it turns or how it turns or why it turns. And so we sort of delve into that in the last like third, and then we talk about the aftermath of what happened to the people. Look, it's a pretty riveting show. I do think it's got that classic Dateline or 2020 vibe where they show a lot of old pictures and like it's the same picture every time and whatever. And then they do interviews with the people, and we get to hear their side of the story. We never really hear the con's side of the story. Not that they probably have much of one, but in the first one, for example, they do mention, hey, we reached out to this person and he declined to participate in the show. So, okay, maybe it's a little one-sided, but once you hear what the person did, you're like, well, what is the excuse for that? Like, what, other than to be a giant a-hole, and screw somebody over, what did they do? So I don't know. I found it to be very interesting, and it's a bit lighter than like your typical true crime stuff where it's about murder or people going to jail that don't deserve it, that didn't do anything wrong and they were framed, or whatever. I think this is a bit more lighthearted than that, and I liked that aspect of it. It's certainly not reinventing the wheel, but I thought it was pretty good television if you're into that sort of true to life, docu-series sort of thing, but don't want to get too heavy in it with, he murdered his wife and, this, that, and the other thing. So I leave the con with a B. And again, I think it may be wrapped up on ABC for now, but I have the feeling it will be back at some point to fill some time on the schedule. We go back to Netflix now for Aunty Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun. And you know what? With my extra time this week, I watched all 6 of these as well. Usually, again, I only watched the first maybe 2 episodes, but this is a quick one. I mean, each episode is less than 20 minutes, so you can finish all 6 episodes in less than 2 hours. Aunty Donna is an Australian sketch comedy troupe. I was not familiar with them, but the 3 actors are Mark, Broden, and Zachary, and they make up the core of the Aunty Donna troupe. And they've already done a couple of different shows in Australia, but this is their first foray into U.S. television. And it's, a sketch show, but it also has sort of a through line, whereas they are all living in a house together. Some things sort of follow up from previous episodes, and some do not. One of the producers here is Ed Helms, who plays himself in one of the episodes. This is very, very subversive comedy. This is really, sort of wacky stuff, very, off the beaten path. It's a lot of actually what I was referring to earlier with the Tim and Eric stuff. Just sort of like zany things where they're, sometimes maybe they're trying too hard to be obtuse or different or weird. And sometimes that can work, sometimes it does not. But one thing that I've found about this is I really laughed a lot, Not everything's going to work. One of the things I liked the most about the show isn't even the plot of each episode, but the like the fake TV shows or fake commercials that we would see as we watched the guys watching TV. Some of that stuff was really funny. I think that stuff was probably more consistently funny than what was going on at the house. But sometimes there's original songs in there that are funny and silly. And I don't know, this kind of humor, again, it doesn't always sort of I don't always gravitate towards it. Sometimes I think trying too hard is annoying, and like, let's just be weird to be weird. But these guys are all pretty likable. You can tell that they have, good chemistry together. You can tell they've been doing comedy for a while because they play off of each other really well. And one thing I thought was really interesting is a couple of the episodes had basically improv games in it, but they weren't presented as such. Like in the first episode, they're looking for a new roommate. So they're like, oh, let's see what kind of roommates we might find. And so it's basically like one of the old improv games I used to play in college, World's Worst. And so the topic is World's Worst Roommate. And then, you have a conga line of people come through and show us, okay, what would be the world's worst roommate. And this is something they've done on Whose Line Is It Anyway? And it's, when I was a kid, Eddie Murphy did it in Coming to America. They had the conga line of different girls that they were meeting at the bar. So it's not like it's breaking the mold. It's not like it's new. But they ingratiated it really well into like a sitcom type format. And I really appreciated that. Look, not every sketch was a hit. I don't think there's any show where every sketch is a hit. I think Chappelle probably got the closest. But, SNL is still probably, 60-40 with, most episodes 60 being the good part. But Key and Peele, who are great, even their stuff doesn't always work. And because of the framing of it, it's not just sketch, 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 sketch. It's underlying, theme of the episode and little bits in between. It reminded me a little bit, actually, of Pee-wee's Playhouse, but more for adults, and more sketch comedy, I guess. But because they all live in a house together and the house is silly and the dishwasher talks and all that, it does remind me a little bit of Pee-wee's. But overall, I really enjoyed Aunty Donna. I've seen several sketch comedy shows since I started doing this TV review show last year, and this might be the best of them. So I leave Aunty Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun with a B. All right, let's keep this under an hour if I can do it. Side Hustle is last. That is on Nickelodeon. This is a new kids show on Nick, starring Jules LeBlanc, who used to be known as Annie LeBlanc, but now or LeBlanc, I guess. No relation to Matt LeBlanc of Friends, but she used to go by Annie. Now she goes by Jules LeBlanc. But anyway, she was big on YouTube for a while, and she was in a YouTube Red series that was, I guess, pretty popular with kids called We Are Savvy. But she stars with her buddy Jaden Bartels here, and essentially the premise is the two of them and their best friend Munchie, played by Isaiah Cruz, have issue at the beginning of the first episode because they get some illegal fireworks and light them off, and one of them blows up Munchie's father's boat. And, well, Munchie's father happens to be principal of the school, so they all have to repay him for the boat. And, oh my goodness, sir, we're so sorry. What can we do? So Lex's genius brother, Fisher, makes an app where they can basically be hired to do, side hustle type things, basically odd jobs. And so each episode they have 1 to 2 wacky jobs that we see them in, and they're doing crazy things. And, look, last week I reviewed a Nickelodeon show that I absolutely hated, Young Dylan. It was an F. Awful. The acting was bad. The jokes, none of them hit. But this, completely the opposite. This was hilarious. I loved this show. It very much reminds me of a lot of the Disney Channel type shows and Nickelodeon shows from like 20 years ago, which I was still too old to watch them then, but like Hannah Montana, That's So Raven, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, iCarly, somewhat, a little bit Drake and Josh, where it's funny, silly kids in wacky situations and having, punchy dialogue, funny punchlines, and the best part of all of those shows I mentioned is the comedic timing of the actors. You have to have that if you're going to appreciate a show like this as an adult, because it's made for kids. I mean, it's made for 10-year-olds, really. That are just sort of getting started in, okay, what is a sitcom? What is funny? and that kind of thing. They're not going to really, I mean, they might watch The Office or something, but I don't think they're going to understand it the same way that adults do. So this really reminds me of a lot about the comic timing from these kids, and most of them are brand new kids. I mean, most of their IMDb's are like a couple of credits, you know. Specifically, the little brother, who is friggin' adorable, Mitchell Berg, who plays Fisher. He was in like one episode of Henry Danger, and then he was in this. But man, his comedic timing is just right on the money. Look, these jokes are not breaking the mold. It is very much in the same vein of a Hannah Montana. You know, silly kids doing wacky things, getting involved in sort of farcical things. But look, some of the best sitcoms of all time do that. I Love Lucy is the best example. So anything that can emulate that and do it fairly well, I'm on board with. I think this is a very funny show. I think there's only 5 episodes for this first season, which is unfortunate. They have not aired 3 of them yet, but I would love to see more of this show. I thought it was very funny. I'm leaving Side Hustle with a B+. So all positives this week. Alex Rider almost on that edge, but all positive. So we like to see that. Sometimes we get all negative. Usually I like to find at least one positive. So next week I know we're going to watch this new show, Big Sky, on ABC that is getting a lot of buzz. Ryan Phillippe stars in that. And I'll see what else I can get to do. There's actually a couple of other shows on Nickelodeon and Disney that I have not reviewed yet. I'll get to them eventually, I'm sure. And as we wind down the year, I think there'll be a lot of weeks where we don't quite even have 6 shows to focus on. So we may do some big binges about previous shows or whatever. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. That's going to be the show for this week. And we'll see you next time. Bye.